the grandfather of all first-person shooters, came out on many, many consoles. So I am the Game Collector, and this is Second Opinion Games, and today we compare Wolfenstein 3D for the Nintendo versus the Atari Jaguar.
Second Opinion Games.
I'm sure by now everyone knows what Wolfenstein is, but in case you haven't noticed, this is kind of what it looked like on the PC back in the day. So I'm going to take you through the Super Nintendo, the Game Boy Advance, and the Atari Jaguar, and show you the first level of each game, because they're all pretty much identical, and show you a boss fight and a couple of little things that are differences here and there, so to speak. First up, Super Nintendo. On the Super Nintendo version, you'll notice that there's no German, because for some reason you're not hunting Nazis, because Nintendo thought it was wrong to kill Nazis, but okay to kill regular people. Great. Also in this version, it looks really, really bad. I mean, it's 16-bit after all, so I wasn't expecting anything super good. Matter of fact, it's kind of impressive that Super Nintendo can even do this, but my god, it looks horrible. On top of it, there's no blood, and there's quite a bit of censorship, because even Hitler lost his mustache, so just this normal guy needs to die more than Hitler. That's pretty bad. Other things to look at here is the fact that you do have quite a few weapons at your disposal, whether it be your flamethrower, rocket launcher, Gatling gun, knife, or the standard machine gun. They're all here. Also, the music and the sound effects that are here are really, really good. Well, for the 16-bit Super Nintendo anyway. Maybe not super good, just okay. Definitely better than other games that I heard, okay? And when you beat a level or the end boss of the game, you run off and scream, yeah! And that's kind of cool, too. It's something that some of the other games didn't do, and it was definitely a way to get around the gory death cam thing. But I digress a little bit there. On top of it, the voice sampling that is here is amongst the best of the system, so I have to get it credit for that, even if it is in English. So, let's move on. Next up, the 32-bit Game Boy Advance, and with double the bits, well, a slight graphical increase. However, one of the things you notice right away is the fact that there's no music of any kind, which is a shame. Supposedly, that they couldn't figure out how to get the music and the game to run in first-person shooter mode at the same time because of a lot of strain on the processor. I'm not really sure if I believe it, but this game was the first-person shooter to come out on the Game Boy Advance. Well, one of the first at the very least, so I understand it. However, the rest of the music in this game is awful, and by that I mean the sound effects from when you pick stuff up. It's really just degrading to your ears, whether it be a bullet clip or treasure, which I swear on my IBM, when I was a kid, that it would give you at least a little bit of health. Here it just gives you points. What do you need points for? Maybe extra lives. Another thing that I really didn't think Wolfenstein needed was a set number of lives. Normally, you just die on a level, and you start over on that level with all your weapons. You can save your game after every single level, and there is tons and tons of content here, including end bosses, and you have a choice right at the beginning to pick from any of the levels at your disposal. On top of it is the levels of difficulty, which also I think one's missing here, as it goes from pretty darn hard to pretty darn easy, just like that. A little confusing, so play with the second easiest one there. It's the closest to normal you're gonna find. What this game does have is the death cam, which is freaking sweet. After you kill someone, you watch them melt away to a puddle of ooze, and that is very, very satisfying and pretty much the main reason to own this version. So, let's move on. Doubling the bits again to the 64-bit Atari Jaguar, which most people consider to be a very inferior machine. However, you'll notice it looks unbelievably beautiful. All the weapons are here, unlike the Game Boy Advance version. You have the flamethrower, you have the rocket launcher, you have the Gatling gun, machine gun, pistol, and the knife. However, your characters don't have any backs to them, so you're always facing them, ready to gun them down, and you're given tons of ammunition to do so. Well, at least when you find it. On the Game Boy Advance version, you only can carry up to 99 bullets. On the Jaguar, you could get so many more if you find the backpacks at the right spot in the game. You'll notice there's no censorship here. Tons of blood. You could just mow down everything. The German language comes in very crystal clear, and everything about this game feels smooth, except if you're playing on the Pro Controller, it doesn't use the shoulder buttons to strafe, so you're stuck using the C button on the Jaguar controller to hold in, and then you can strafe back and forth. It doesn't feel as intuitive as the Super Nintendo or the Game Boy Advance, believe it or not, but after a while you do get used to it, and you can fly through levels really, really quick. Graphically, by far the best of the three. The music is the best of the three. And when you pick up treasure in this version, it actually gives you a little bit of health back, giving you a reason to do it outside of lives. You could save anytime you want, but it just really saves at the beginning of the level. Even if you hit halfway in, it'll always start you at the beginning of the level. There are tons of cheat codes for each of these games. Mostly just God mode and level select, which is really kind of pointless because I really don't understand playing as God mode. You can put in a code for all of your weapons and keys, which does help out quite a bit. The game is solid through and through, and the Jaguar version is probably one of the best games ever made. Yeah, I mean ever. It's my favorite version of Wolfenstein 3D. The other versions are good in their own right, but you might have a hard time convincing some that the Super Nintendo is very good at all. At least the Game Boy Advance, they tried to bring home the PC style, but just couldn't get it done in the end. And the Atari Jaguar has the great music and everything, and it changes into an arcade style where you mow over all the bullet sponge enemies, and tons of them are here, and the game is very satisfying. Unfortunately, no death cam though. So which should you get? Well, the only one I think is really worth its salt is the Atari Jaguar version, and I strongly recommend it. But that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you like this review. I could have talked about this game for hours, but I wanted to keep it a lot shorter. On top of it, this really is one of my favorite games ever made, so I tried to do it justice the best I could. Let me know what you think about Wolfenstein 3D for any of these systems. I really want to know, and I love hearing from feedback. So until later, I'll see you again, guys.